Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel. Just like I told you guys on my Instagram story that I was going to make a video on electives, observerships, and externships, I'm here with that and I'm going to try to answer most of the FAQs related to electives and US clinical rotations overall. But obviously that all of that can't be done in a single video. So I'm going to try to make sure I keep things as short as possible. But I really recommend you should watch this video completely because it's going to answer a lot of questions. So first of all, there's something that I want to say actually. I see a lot of people giving advices related to university electives, clinic electives, hospital electives, observerships, externships, but they're actually the people who have not been on these clinical rotations themselves. And I don't really like that idea. The reason is, unless and until you go to a university elective, you can never know what happens there, to be very honest. And then it also differs university to university what sort of rotation they're offering. For me, I would just like to introduce myself. I did 4 rotations in total. Okay, my first rotation was at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. This was when I was in my final year of medical school, and I was a visiting student at the UPMC. So this was my first university elective, and then afterwards I took my USMLE Step 2 exam after final professional exam, and then I went on for 3 further observerships. I did 2 in Oklahoma City and 1 in Pittsburgh. The 2 in Oklahoma City were at Integris Baptist Medical Center. It was with a hospitalist there. And then I did another one at the University of Oklahoma. It was with an interventional pulmonologist there. And then I finally went to a primary care clinic in Pittsburgh. It was actually in it's in a place called White Oaks. So how did I plan these rotations? One, I wanted inpatient, outpatient, and also I wanted hospital medicine, and I wanted an exposure into the ORs, So alhamdulillah, I was able to have all 4 of these. And when I was with the interventional pulmonologist, I used to go to the OR, and I had that exposure, and I really feel like a lot of people lack that. So I had that exposure. I had outpatient exposure when I went to the clinic. I had inpatient exposure at my during my university elective, and then I also had exposure to the hospital medicine part when I was doing my observership at Integris Baptist Medical Center. So this is my introduction, and this is what I've done, and I hope this puts things more into perspective because it will help you understand my opinions better. So first of all, the first question that I would like to answer is, it's about electives, observerships, and externships. You need to understand what's the difference between these, and I'll try to keep it as short as possible. So first of all, let's rank them. It's electives, externships, and observerships. Okay, so externships are somewhere between the electives and observerships. Okay, so for electives, you need to understand that when you go for an elective from any country, be it India, Bangladesh, Nepal, whatever, when you go for an elective, you're considered a visiting medical student. What does that mean? It means you're a medical student who's come from a foreign country, who's come from a foreign medical school, and now you're doing a rotation at one of the medical schools in America, and you will be considered as one of their own medical students. Okay, so that is what a visiting medical student is. So on these rotations, you can expect to do anything that their own medical student is doing. And the preceptors will be precepting you, or they will be observing you just like they would observe one of their own medical students. If you want to talk about LORs, they would be giving you LORs just like they would give it to any of their own medical students. So this is how an elective works. And all of the medical students, they have access to something called the EMR. It is their electronic system, which they use to chart their patients, manage their patients, put in the orders, and it's like very well linked between the nursing staff, the pharmacy, doctors, your preceptors. It's like all very well linked. So that is called an EMR, and there are certain types of EMR. You've probably heard about Epic, which is like the one that is used by most of the hospitals and universities there. So I would not want to go into that much detail right now, but just know this. An elective is a very hands-on thing, and it's like you become their medical student for a period of 1 month or however long your rotation is going to be. For an observership, I'm going to miss out on the externship for a bit. For an observership is like you're just observing a physician there. You don't do anything yourself, you don't take histories, you don't do medical examinations, you don't do anything at all, you don't put in the orders. You just observe what your physician is doing, okay? And that is what an observership is. And obviously it cannot compete with an elective, which is like completely hands-on, and you are an integral part of the team when you are on an elective. But when you're on an observership, they wouldn't, things wouldn't change if you weren't here, right? So an elective is much superior to an observership. That I want you to understand that. And now for an externship, it is something that's between an elective and an observership. What does that mean? Just think of an externship like an observership with a little hands-on experience. Most of the states, they don't really allow that, because when you are not a medical student and you're on your B1, B2 visa, you're not allowed to perform patient examinations. You're not allowed to take histories. And so some states do allow that. And when you're on an externship, you can expect to take histories. You can expect to perform, tiny little examinations under the direct supervision of your physicians. So that is what an externship is. And the rules for an externship differ from institute to institute, clinic to clinic, and hospital to hospital. So it's like somewhere in between an elective and an observership, but it is nowhere near an elective, because during an elective, you are a medical student of you are one of their own. Okay, so that's how I would put it. I hope that makes sense. So this is the difference between the three. And once again, I would like to say electives, externships, and observerships. So the second question, and this is a question that a lot of people ask actually, and it's like, can you do an elective after your graduation? No. Why? Because I just said you're a visiting medical student, right? So if you're not a medical student anymore, it's not like if you're a graduate and you have already, started your house job or something, you're not a medical student anymore. You cannot expect to, just go there and become a visiting medical student suddenly. It does not work like that. So short answer, no. I know you're probably thinking, can we do it right after our final professional examination or something like that? I will answer that later in this video. Does it make a difference if you're doing an elective, observership, or externship? It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. Like during one of my interviews, people would actually, the program directors and the faculty, they want to know what you did on that rotation. So let's just say you have an observership listed on your EDAS CV, and you say that, what, I took 5 patient histories daily and I performed this many clinical examinations. Oh, my preceptor was so happy with me. They know that you are just bluffing, because you're not allowed to do those sort of things on an observership. But if your timeline is like you went for an elective during your final year of medical school, they know what you did there, and they're probably going to ask you, who was the most interesting patient that you saw there, or something, that just gets you talking about your elective. So it makes a huge difference whether you did an elective or an observership. And an elective, there are actually institutes, like there are some in Pennsylvania. I wouldn't, take names, but their program directors, they don't consider observerships as rotations. I'm not saying most of them don't do that, okay? But like for that specific institute, is like, I only consider an elective as a US clinical rotation. So again, I hope that puts things into better perspective, right? Okay, so the third question is, what are the kinds of clinical rotations? And this is an interesting one, actually. So an elective, externship, observership. Again, an elective can be done at a university, at a hospital, or a clinic. Okay, these are 3 kinds if you want to think like that. And then an observership, again, a university, a hospital, a clinic. Same goes for an externship. So these are the 3 types of rotations you can do. What's the best one? I hope you're thinking university, because that is the best one, and that makes sense, right? It's a huge system. A university is a huge system, and there's a lot of stuff going on, under that university. So nothing in parallel with a university. So what's on the top now? A university elective. What comes next? A hospital elective. What comes next? A clinic elective. What comes next? A university observership. And then what comes next? A hospital observership. And then what comes next? a clinic observership. See how I like rank them. It's important for you to know that, because I see a lot of people, just blindly going in for observerships, just blindly going in for electives. They have better opportunities and they have such a hard time deciding, which one is the best for them. So it's really important for you to know this, because even when you're applying for these clinical rotations, a lot of times you have to think of it, whether you're applying for a clinic elective, whether you're applying for a university electives. I know that university electives cost a lot, but again, nothing can parallel them. Nothing can parallel, you being a medical student of one of their own institutions, right? You getting a first-hand experience of everything, just like their graduates will. So nothing can parallel that, and you have to understand these three systems, like universities, hospitals, and clinics. And clinics come at the bottom. Above them are hospitals, and at the top are your universities. So the next question is, when should you do your electives? So electives are best done during medical school, obviously, but I've actually seen people who go in during their third year of MBBS. I've seen people who go in during their fourth year of MBBS. I've seen people who go in during their final year of MBBS, and I've seen people who go right after their graduation. So I want you to understand something here. One, if you go for an elective during your third year of MBBS, you don't know anything. You have no clinical knowledge at all. You might have some, but you don't have a lot of clinical knowledge. Why? Because you've probably not even studied the clinical subjects like medicine, surgery, pediatrics, OBGYN. Like, you've not studied them yet. And there's no point of rushing, throughout this journey. And if you go during your fourth year, you've probably done ENT, ophthalmology, but again, you've not gone through the major subjects like medicine, surgery. I know there are systems like modular systems who've actually started incorporating medicine and surgery like since the start of their medical schools. But again, you cannot parallel a medical student who's going in during his final year of MBBS. The kind of knowledge that he or she has, that cannot be paralleled by a student who's in his third year or fourth year. And the kind of impression you're going to leave there is not going to be up to the mark. Remember, LOR, letters of recommendations, LORs, they're not like a given thing. You have to earn them. And the only way you can earn them is by gaining their trust, by showing them that you possess the capabilities, by showing them that you have something that just makes them give you the LOR. So I think it's really important that you don't go before your final year of MBBS. And even for your final year of MBBS, I would really recommend that you go either at the mid or at the end when you've actually, started studying these subjects. And I think the perfect time is right before your final year of MBBS, or maybe right after it, but that is debatable, and I'll definitely come back to that later. Now the question is, how do you apply for these clinical rotations like electives and observerships and externships? So I'm going to divide this into two. First, we're going to talk about electives, and the process for externships and observerships, it's actually the same, but I will definitely talk about it. So for electives, again, I told you there are university electives, there are hospital electives, and then there are clinic electives. For university electives, you have to understand one thing, and that is the VSLO. The Visiting Students Learning Opportunities. It's not actually only for university electives, it's for like all sorts of electives. But the VSLO is a program that was designed by America, and what they wanted was that people from around the world, they get to, visit America and attend their medical schools, and then at the same time, people from America, they would go to the other medical institutes like across the world, and they would exchange medical students just to give them exposure to different healthcare systems in the world. And obviously what happens is that, like, let's just say nobody in America would probably want to come and see what happens in India or Pakistan, but a lot of people would definitely want to get the US clinical experience inside America. So a lot of our medical students, they go there. So this is what VSLO is. But unfortunately, I can only speak for Pakistan and some institutes in India as well, because I know that. We don't really have a lot of institutes that are registered with the VSLO. VSLO stands for Visiting Students Learning Opportunities, if I did not say that before. So what happens is that we don't really get a lot of opportunities, because most of the universities in America, they are registered with the VSLO, but we are not. So, we don't really have a lot of opportunities for electives in America. We have to cut down on a lot of opportunities. So what we do then is that there are some institutes, and I will name a few actually, that don't only take medical students who belong to a university that is registered with the VSLO thing. And some of these are like Stanford University, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, this is where I went, University of Kansas, University of Illinois Chicago, Marshall University, and Mount Sinai. They were actually transitioning to a VSLO thing. I'm not sure if they have transitioned yet or not. Cleveland Clinic, they don't really require the VSLO thing, and Florida International University. So these were like just some of the programs that I named 7, which are actually university affiliated with universities or are universities themselves. These are the ones that take students based on the VSLO thing. And for everybody who belongs to a medical institute that is not a part of the VSLO program, you can apply into these universities. I know that they're expensive, and it gets really inexpensive when you are applying on the basis of the VSLO thing, but it is what it is. And I know it's unfortunate, but the experience will be unparalleled, that's for sure. So how do you apply for these institutes? You go to their websites, and they have like entire pages, like very, very, very well explained, like what requirements they have. Some of them would require you to pass your OET exam. Some of them would want people who are done with their step 1s. Some of them might even ask you to complete your step 2 before you can visit that place. But the requirements are, they differ from institution to institution, but they're like very well explained on each university's website. And I just hate it that people are like so lazy. They cannot even, just visit their websites and look for those requirements. And it just annoys me a bit, because a lot of people, they keep on messaging me on Instagram, and they're like, can you please tell us like what do we require if you want to go to UPMC? And I'm like, it's all very well explained on the university's website. So make sure you read those requirements. Make sure you read how much does it cost. And I think University of Kansas is actually the cheapest one among the lot. Cleveland Clinic is actually very cheap, but it's really hard to get an elective there. I'll come back to that later. But anyway, this is the process for university electives. And if there's like a third party that offers you to rotate at these universities, and you have to pay that third party as well, I would really recommend you don't do that. I have nothing against the third parties, but the thing is, when you can directly apply for a university elective on their websites, why don't you do that? It doesn't make sense. You still have to gather all the documents and send that to the third party, and then they will send it to the university. Why don't you do that yourself? Just get in direct contact with the university. That would really help you out. So this is how you're supposed to do things, okay? Now for clinic and hospital electives, now things differ here. Hospitals, most of the hospitals that I know that offer the electives, they have a similar process, just like the university electives. But for clinics are like, you have to reach out to the head of or like the owner of that clinic. Like, let's just say there's this one in Philadelphia, and you have to reach out to that doctor, and then he has an associate who gets back to you via email, and they tell you, this is how much it's going to cost you, this is how much the accommodation is going to cost you, this is how much the food is going to cost you. And that is how things work. You just tell them that these are the dates you're interested in, and this is how most of the clinic electives work, not clinical electives. So this is how clinic electives work. And there are some free ones as well. They're pretty hard to get, but I want you to remember one thing. Clinic electives are offered by doctors, individual doctors. And let's just say the owner of that clinic, or somebody who's working at that clinic, he might be able to offer you a rotation. Just come in, you're a medical student, just come into my clinic, and you can rotate with me for a period of 1 month. And you're a medical student at that time. So that would be a clinic elective. Okay, and if you're doing the same thing, but after your graduation, that would become an observership. But again, there's like so many things associated with it. I just have to say everything, just trying to make sure that you guys understand it properly. I know that a lot of people, when they go for clinic electives, they don't really get access to the EMRs that I was talking about earlier. And the problem with that is, if you're not getting access to the EMR, you don't really understand the entire thing that you should be understanding when you go for an elective. Like, you don't know how to put in the orders, you don't know how to chart a patient, you don't know anything about pre-charting. I'm not saying all of the clinical electives are like that, but you should definitely, just look out for it, and you should just dig deep right into it. Just think about it. If you're going to get access to the EMR, if you'll be allowed to take patient histories, if you're going to become a part of the team, like an integral part of the team, because that is what an elective requires you to do. And it might just say on the invitation letter that you're coming in for an elective, but again, they would say like, you're not allowed to do that, or you're not allowed to touch a patient or something like that. So it's better that it's actually the best if you know somebody who's already rotated at that clinic. That helps the most, because they would be telling you things about whether or not they got the letter of recommendation, whether or not they got the access to the EMR, how the patient population was, how friendly were the preceptors there, how much did they help you. So it's always best to visit a rotation. Like for UPMC, I can tell you guys, it was like the best rotation ever. I actually think I matched, because I learned so much during that rotation that I was able to speak all about it during my interviews. So I think it really helps. And if you can go to UPMC, it's the best thing ever. So I definitely recommend that. I'm not getting paid for it, by the way. So this is about electives. This is how you can get an elective. So let me just talk about the third party, like AMO opportunities, the match guy. There was this that starts with an S. I don't know. I try to remember all the names, but I can't. USMLE Sarthi. So these are like some of the institutions that offer electives. Now, what they do is that they're the middleman. Okay. They would be in contact with the preceptors there, they would be in contact with the hospitals there, and they would be like, we would charge you a fee, and then we will pay you this much when a student is coming from Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Saudi Arabia, wherever, and we're going to charge this much from the person who's going to attend the elective. And so they're just the middleman. They're like brokers. Okay. The problem with that is a lot of people have an issue with the amount of money they charge. And another problem is, a lot of people have had like really bad experiences. Like, the broker would say, your elective is confirmed, just come in. They give you the invitation letter, you even get the visa based on that. And then recently there's been experiences where people land at the airports, and then they get an email that you don't really have a rotation, your rotation was cancelled, and then they're like lost, like, what should we do? It's like a big country. You've paid for the accommodation, you've paid for the air ticket. I know it's not easy to do that, and it gets really hard. So these are like some of the experiences that have been unfortunately associated with these third parties. But I'm not saying that these exactly were the AMO opportunity. The names I took, they have nothing to do with these, and I'm not saying that they are bad ones or good ones. I don't really have a first-hand experience with them. Whatever I hear is from my friends, or from the people that I follow, or the people that are in contact with me. So I would really recommend that if you can do it on your own, that's the best thing you can do. But if, like, as a last resort, you want to go to them, it's fine. Be my guest. If it's getting you a rotation, that's fine then. The next question is, how do you apply for an observership or externship? Now, the most important and the most simple and the most direct way and the straightforward way is to send cold emails. Now, what are cold emails? Cold emails are like, I'm Dr. Hamza, I'm sitting in Rochester General Hospital, and you are, let's say you are Ahmed, and you are sitting in Pakistan. I don't know you. Okay, you just got my email from one of the websites of Rochester General Hospital, and then you send me an email that, I'm Ahmed, I'm from Rawalpindi Medical University, and I want to do a 4-week rotation with you. It would increase my experience, and blah, 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 all the silly things you guys write on emails. And I don't know you, so I might reach out, I might respond to that person because he was from RMU, because he was from my alma mater, and I might not. So this is what a cold email is. It's cold, right? And then that person, Ahmed, has also sent emails to like 100 different doctors, and like 2 or 3 of them are going to respond to Ahmed, and maybe someone will agree to agree with the fact that Ahmed is going to rotate with them. So this is what a cold email is, and this is like the most straightforward straightforward way of getting an observership is. And it works. It's not like a lot of people are like, we have sent like 100 emails, 110 emails, 150 emails, 200 emails. We have not gotten a response yet. I mean, you're doing it for yourself, right? Nobody's going to help you out. And this is how it is. We all get observerships like that. Like 2 of the observerships that I got were like that as well. So you just either you have to wait or you have to just send in more emails. So I would really recommend you just keep on researching people, you just keep on sending those emails, just make a good template, attach your CVs, attach your personal statements if you can, and that's how it works. That's what a cold email is. The other way is reaching out to contacts. Let's just say me, I'm Dr. Hamza, I'm sitting in Chicago, I have my own clinic, and you're like, Hamza, can I please, your father calls me, I know your father or something like that, your father calls me and you're like, I want to come in and rotate with you at your clinic. And I'm like, okay, fine, you can just come in on these dates. I give you a letter of invitation, you take that to the visa officer, you get the visa, you fly right into Chicago, you come there and you rotate with me. This is the second method, and it works for a lot of people. But the only problem is that a lot of us don't really have a lot of contacts in the United States, right? So it helps if you have contacts, but it's even your contacts are sometimes, a bit wary of whether or not you should be coming into their into their clinic. So it's a hit and trial sort of thing. I would really recommend that you reach out to each and every single contact you have in the United States, because it does help. I don't know why the video is getting longer and my voice is breaking up, but I'll try to complete it as soon as I can. I just want to answer everything. And then the final way is that for some observerships, again, like for hospital observerships, I've seen that a lot of hospitals have their observership forms, applications on their websites again. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to, just go and directly visit those university websites, hospital websites, and then you can get a hospital or a university observership like that. It really helps. And let me tell you, the ones that do have, proper programs and proper information listed out on their websites, they're actually the best ones, and they'll give you, a very good experience, and you'll probably get very good letters of recommendations on the letterhead of universities and hospitals like that as well. So if you're a graduate, I would really recommend that should be your top priority. Look out for university or look out for hospital observerships before you, just go into a random clinic and then, just start observing there. I would really recommend that you do that. So this is how you apply for clinical rotations. There is no better way. And let me just tell you this, it's going to be extremely, extremely, extremely hard. You look at social media all the time and you're like, oh my God, even this person got an observership. Oh my God, even this person got a university elective. It's not like that. I know there's a lot of luck involved here, but you cannot just stop and you cannot just, keep on sitting on your desk and just thinking like there's going to be some manosalvas coming from the sky and you're just gonna benefit from it, and if somebody's just going to offer you, or even your contacts in the United States, they're going to reach out to you. No, it does not work like that. You can't be lazy about these things. You have to reach out to 1,000 or like 10,000 people if you have to, and you have to research for it. It takes a lot of time. I know it's annoying. It takes like months to get an observership or an elective or anything like that. Like for me, I applied in like April of 2023, and then I got my university elective, the UPMC one, in November. So that was the time, how early I had to apply for that rotation. And let me just tell you this, that I started gathering my documents and started gathering the information in January. So January, February, March, April, it took me like 4 or 5 months to just line up those documents, and then I was able to finally get that elective. So it takes a lot of time. You have to be patient, and remember that nobody else is going to help you out. You're in this on your own, so you have to make sure that you actually working yourself. Okay, the next question is free observerships. How do you get those? You get those by cold emailing. I'm sorry to say that. You get those by contacts, and there are some universities or hospitals that actually allow free observerships. This was a question that a lot of people sent me on Instagram. So let me just tell you this: most of the observerships that you get by cold emailing, they're going to be free, and electives are mostly paid because you're accessing their systems. You get a proper ID card or something like that, so that has some associated costs with them, and especially if you're rotating at a university and you have to pay as much money as their own medical student would pay at that university. So because you're a visiting medical student, right? Let me just check if my mic is working. It's working. Okay. So this is how it works, and observerships are generally free and electives are generally paid. An externship is the same as observership, so um, they're mostly free, but unless and until there's a person who's offering a lot of people to come in, and if they're charging for it, it's on there, and you can't really do anything about it. Now, which visa do you require for attending these rotations? Whether it's an elective or an observership or an externship, you always require a B1, B2 visa if you don't have something like a green card or something. So that is the visa that you require. And a lot of people get a multiple entry visa for a period of 5 years. So if you get a visa for 5 years, you can do multiple rotations. You can come back to Pakistan or wherever you're from, and then you can go back again. And I would really recommend that if you go for observerships or something, and you're done with your step 2 exam and your OET, and you're a graduate, you should definitely take your step 3 exam during that time as well on the B1, B2 visa. Now, the golden question: do you apply for the visa first or the elective first? What was that line? Need experience for a job, and need job for an experience, right? So you need the visa for the elective, and you require the elective for the visa. But anyway, I think the timelines are like, it takes you approximately like 300 days or so, or like 250 days or so for the visa, for you to get the visa appointment. So I would really recommend that you first try to get the visa appointment. Just add the name of whatever place you are thinking about going to on the DS-160 form, and whether or not your elective gets accepted there or not, or your observership gets accepted there or not, you can just explain it to the visa officer when you go there, that this is the place where I wanted to rotate, but I did not get a rotation there, so I'm going to go to this place instead. And I'm sure that by the time you have your appointment, you will have that lined up, and it will work for you. So definitely, it's always going to be visa first and then an elective. The next question is how much does it cost? Electives can cost anywhere, from $400 at Cleveland Clinic, I think $2,400 at University of Kansas, to I think $3,000 at University of Illinois, and $4,500 at UPMC, $5,500 at University of Alabama, and then I think somewhere around $6,000 for a month at Stanford. Stanford is like the most expensive one. So these are just like rough estimates for your electives, and this is how much it can cost you. And for the rest of them, like for observerships, most of the observerships, like I said, were free, but there are like multiple clinics that offer you the electives and offer you the observerships, and they can charge you somewhere like 1,000, 2,000. And I saw someone in Philadelphia that I was talking about. He was charging like I think 2,500, but that included accommodation. So it really matters whether or not accommodation is included in that price or not. I know for University of Alabama, Birmingham, that in that $5,500, they arrange for transport from and to the airport, and they also have accommodation set up for you. And I know I'm really close to the people who've actually rotated at UAB, and I know that it's a really good rotation as well. So this is how much it costs. What do you do if your visa gets rejected? First of all, I want you to understand that it's really rare that for your visa to get rejected, if you are going for a clinical elective and you have a university-based, invitation letter, or a hospital-based invitation letter, and even a clinic-based invitation letter. If you're a medical student here in Pakistan or anywhere in the world, it's actually a very strong home country tie, because they know that you are going to come back, because obviously you need to graduate, right? And for graduation, you need to take your final exams. So that's a very good home country tie. So if you're a medical student and you're applying for an elective, it's really rare for you to get your visa rejected. Although there are some cases, most of the chances are that you are going to get your visa accepted. But in case if it gets rejected, you apply for it again, and then this time you are going to apply for an emergency appointment. Whatever date you get, just get it and then apply for the emergency appointment. And most of the people do get the emergency appointments. Just don't stop. if you have a very good invitation letter, if you have a very good rotation lined up, you should definitely keep on working, and you should definitely just keep on trying to get the visa, and you will get it eventually. And for the observerships, if you get your visa rejected, again, you have to apply again. And one thing you can do is you can apply for the USMLE Step 3 exam. You can apply for the visa based on that, and that really helps as well. Always, try to make sure that you have a strong home country tie. Like, some people are the ones who were actively doing house jobs. There are some people who are working at clinics here. There are some people who actually work as a medical officer after their house job, so that really helps out. That shows some sort of a home country tie. There are some people who are married and their spouses are here in Pakistan, so that binds them to come back to Pakistan. So all of these things, it really helps, and it adds to the home country ties. Again, the video is getting longer and longer, but I'm just trying to just shorten it up as much as I can. Can you do electives right after your final professional exam? Yeah, this is an important one actually. Yes, you can. As long as you have applied for the electives while you were a medical student and you got that elective, and those dates are lined up right after your final professional exam, whether you're a graduate or not, you can definitely do that elective. And it's just important that you are accepted for an elective. It's not going to be like if you were accepted for an observership and you are saying that I have not graduated yet, so I'm technically a medical student. That fact will not automatically convert that observership into an elective. You have to be accepted for an elective to be an elective. It just makes sense, right? But this is something that people don't really understand, so I want you guys to be sure of that. Is the invitation letter important? It is really important if you don't have a green card or a valid B1 B2 visa. You have to take these invitation letters to your visa officers. They ask you for it. Even if they don't ask you, you have to offer these letters to them, and it really helps you getting that visa. I think that most of the people who actually got accepted and who actually got their visas were the ones who took their invitation letters with them. And it also matters what sort of visa invite letter you have. So if it's like on a university letterhead or a hospital letterhead, if it's a renowned institution, like the universities I was telling you about, if it's something like that, it really helps. And you can definitely there's a higher chance that you will get your observership, or you will get your visa if you are actually going on that basis. There is actually this person who asked if you can work while you are doing your rotation. No, you cannot. You're not allowed to work on a B1, B2 rotation, so I just wanted to make that clear. Are local Pakistani electives worth it? The important thing I want you to understand is that the purpose of doing a rotation, whether it's in Pakistan or in America, it's not only about getting a letter of recommendation. It's about who you become after attending that rotation. Like, let's just say if you attend a nephrology rotation, you're going to become much better at nephrology if you attend that rotation. If you are attending a rotation in America, it's going to improve your communication skills. It's going to give you a better exposure to the US healthcare system. So it's actually about who you become. It gives you something to talk about during your interviews. It just gives you something to talk about. And I don't know how to explain this one, but it's the change of your personality that you see after attending an elective. So if you're attending electives in Pakistan and they're good ones, like the ones that are offered at Aga Khan, I would definitely recommend them. I know there are some here in Islamabad and Shifa as well. These are like some very good opportunities that you can actually excuse me. These are like some very good opportunities that you can actually attend, and I'm not going to say that they are going to help you a lot for the match. Like, if you're thinking that if I do elective at Shifa, it's going to make or break things, and I'm going to get a match in the United States. It's not going to happen, but it definitely helps. You learn a lot of things, and you just improve in a lot of areas. So I think you should definitely do it. Somebody asked me, is OET is like a permanent requirement for all electives? No, it's not a requirement for all the electives. In fact, when I was at UPMC, I did not have to do any sort of OET. They rather just requested for it was a letter like from my vice chancellor, and it was saying that the medium of language used at our institution is English. So that just made sense that if somebody's studying medicine in English, he would do okay there. I'm not sure if it's the same in UPMC right now as well, more and more institutions have started asking for OETs, because I think a lot of people, when they go there, they have communication issues, with English. And again, it differs from institution to institution. It's not like you have to do OET for each and every elective, but most of them do require it. So this is the last question, and it's actually a very important one. Somebody asked me, when do you ask for the LOR? And the thing is, let's just say if you're going for an elective during your final year of MBBS, or you're going for an elective during, fourth year of MBBS, then you will be applying for the math cycle, let's just say 1 year ahead of time, right? So 1 year ahead of that elective. So yeah, I know that they won't really remember who you are at that time, but the thing is, I've seen this in a lot of physicians in the US, that they are like really professional. Like if they spend some time with you, they're like so much involved into whatever you're doing, they do remember you. And they're like really professional. If you just send them an email, that my math cycle is coming up, would it be okay for you to write me a letter of recommendation? They just like right away they upload it on your ERA series. I know that people have had like some bad experiences there as well, but what you can actually do about it is, when you're doing that rotation, like let's just say there's a preceptor who's going to be with you for 1 week. On Friday of that rotation, you can just go and ask them, let's just say his name is Dr. Hamza. You can say, Dr. Hamza, this is my first time in the United States, and there's a lot of different things that I've learned. If you have any feedback for me, just let me know, and I would really like to improve myself. They're going to, give you a long feedback, and they're going to be like, this is where you can improve, this is where you did really good. And, when that conversation is ending, you can just say, just by the way, would it be okay for you to write me a letter of recommendation? I'm planning to apply for the math cycle next year. And I think 99% of the times they're going to be okay with it, and they'll just say that, yeah, that's fine. And if they say that they commit to it, like they will write you an LOR, what you can say to them is, would it be okay if you write me the LOR right now and then upload it later on? Because there's a chance that you won't remember who I was or what I was doing at that time. You don't really say this thing. I'm just telling it to you. You just ask them to write it at that time, and then they can upload it later on when the math cycle comes up. So that definitely works. A lot of people do that. In my case, I asked them for LORs, and I did not ask them to write it at that time. And then they were really, professional with it. They were really, approachable, and they wrote their LORs right when I reached out to them, and that really helped me. So I had 2 LORs from the people who were working at the UPMC, 1 LOR from University of Oklahoma, and the 4th one has to be from somebody who's at your medical school, and that's actually the Dean of Medicine if you're applying for the internal medicine match. So these are the 4 LORs that you have to attach. Like three have to be US physician based, and 1 has to be from your own medical school, like somebody who's the Dean of Medicine or someone like that. So this brings us to the end of the video, and I would like to conclude this video by saying something, and I've actually said that before in this video as well. The purpose of attending a US clinical rotation is not only about getting a letter of recommendation. A lot of people think if they don't get a letter of recommendation, it's going to be useless. And a lot of people think so much about the LOR that they underperform, or they overdo when they are attending those rotations. And that actually hurts their chances of getting an LOR. Trust me, if you're working fine, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, if you're doing what a medical student is supposed to do, you will definitely get that LOR. But if you overdo things, if you try to be over smart, if you try to do stuff more than what you're supposed to do, that actually might just piss them off. Okay, just remember that that's a very professional environment, and they will definitely look out for you. They will try to help you out, and it's not like their agenda not to help you out. So don't think of it like that. Just go there, do your best, whether it's a Pakistani elective, whether it's an Indian elective, whether it's a US based elective. Just try to learn. Just try to observe what's happening around. Just try to get a hold of the system. Just try to build more experiences. Just try to gain more experiences, and just try to talk to the patients. It's not only about getting the LOR, it's about who you become. and it gives you something to talk about during your interviews as well. You become more interesting. Doctor, I saw a patient there, he had myasthenia gravis. Doctor, I had a patient there, she was at the end of her life, and she was talking so much about this. So these are the kind of experiences that you gain there, and I think they are really worth it. And you should definitely not only be focused on getting an LOR. So this is the conclusion of the video. I hope you liked it. I hope this video helped. I will definitely be uploading more videos sooner or later, and I hope that I can make a difference, and I can help the IMGs out, make this process more straightforward for them, and help them all with this process. Thank you so much.